The Japanese sounds a little bit like Russian video is by far the most successful thing I've ever posted throughout my many years on the internet. I will enjoy spending years being crushed under the immense pressure of attempting to make something that'll come even close to matching its success. Is it a good time to mention that I made that video in literally 1 week? Scratch that, I didn't even work on it for the full week because I was busy moving away to college for the first time. It surprises me that the video isn't terribly low quality. That's a painful trend with people's most viewed videos. Also, I really want to mention that the inspiration for this video was watching a video of a Russian man talking over an image of a cat with Blinn and thinking some of the words sounded somewhat like Japanese ones. Regardless, I'm making this video to rectify some errors and provide some details not stated in the original video, and then remake the whole thing for good measure. First of all, Gensina. Second, some say it sounds like Portuguese, others say it sounds like Polish, which makes sense since they're both Slavic languages. I was referring to the fact that both Polish and Russian are Slavic languages. The way I phrased it is very misinterpretable as me claiming Portuguese is a Slavic language, which most certainly is not. I also hadn't heard anyone say Polish sounds like Russian at that point. I just somewhat thought that most Slavic languages sound vaguely alike and could be confused for one another. But Polish was probably the absolute worst Slavic language I could have chosen in terms of sounding like Russian. I also could have gone through all of the consonants in Japanese and Russian and compared them audibly instead of just showing some charts. I also should have gone into detail about how the intonation of Japanese and Russian make them sound very much distinct when actually spoken. I must emphasize that I claimed Japanese and Russian only have a couple of similarities with their sounds, and I'm not claiming they sound exactly alike. There have been plenty of people saying they sound nothing alike, and their viewpoints are valid. Of course, the most egregious mistake of all is that there's plenty of frames where the text is horribly misaligned. Unforgivable. Here's a remade version of the video without the repulsive text misalignments. There's a lot of people who say Russian sounds similar to certain other languages. Some say it sounds like Portuguese. Most of the Slavic languages are subject to being confused for Russian when spoken, and some people say that Russian sounds like backwards English for some reason. But one language I never hear compared to Russian is that of a nearby neighbor, Japanese, which when first thinking about it, sounds absurd to compare the sounds of the two languages. Japanese has nearly all open syllables, such as in neko, mizu, kawa, and tenki, while Russian has phonotactics that allow for frequent consonant clusters, some of which are very long and hard for speakers of other languages to pronounce. Russian also has heavy vowel reduction, where unstressed vowels get reduced to sounds such as a and I, while vowels in Japanese don't get reduced this way. While this is all true, comparing the phonologies of the two languages, there's a surprising amount of similarities between them. For one, pretty much every consonant in Russian and Japanese has a corresponding similar sound to the other language. Ma, na, pa, ba, ta, da, ka, ga, ca, tia, sa, za, and ya. Between the two, there are also the similarly sounding pairs of fa in Japanese and fa in Russian, ha and cha, zya and zha, and xia in Japanese, and both sha and xia in Russian. The main discrepancies are with Russian va and Japanese wa, which while distinct, speakers of either language may not be able to hear the difference, and the Japanese sound may be analyzed as a bilabial approximate va, which sounds closer to Russian va. The other discrepancy is the la-ra distinction found in Russian but not Japanese. However, the Japanese rhotic does have la as an allophone, and the retroflex tap ra, which sounds somewhat between a typical ra and la sound. The vowels are similar too, and both languages can be classified as having the typical 5-vowel system of a, e, I, o, and u, although the Japanese u is realized closer to the close back unrounded vowel I. Russian also disputably has a 6th vowel, I, with mostly complementary distribution with the vowel I. Japanese actually has this vowel too, as an allophone of I after sa, za, tsa, and palatalized consonants. But if we take a look at Cyrillic, the alphabet used to write Russian, you'll see 10 vowel letters instead of 5 or 6. This is because Russian distinguishes between hard and soft consonants, which are non-palatalized and palatalized respectively. In basic terms, soft consonants have something similar to a y sound following them, and hard consonants don't, with 5 of the vowel letters being used to indicate hard consonants, and the other 5 being used to indicate soft ones, each of which can be described as an allophone of a, e, I, o, and u respectively. Japanese also has palatalization, which happens with the vowel E and the glides ya, yo, and yu, with many of the palatalized consonants having similar forms between both Japanese and Russian. Soft consonants appear all the time in Russian. In the Japanese, a y glide is the only sound that can follow a consonant at the beginning of syllables, generally appearing frequently in Chinese loanwords. These features combine to make words generally seem a bit similar between Japanese and Russian. This similarity is especially striking in adjectives. In Japanese, all verb-like adjectives end in e, whether it be I, e, oi, or ui, and while Russian has far more endings due to having its adjectives agree with nouns in case, gender, and plurality, the dictionary's singular nominative masculine form is almost the same as the e ending in Japanese. The nominative feminine ending aya in Russian also sounds similar to ai, and there are some demonstratives, which act similarly to adjectives, which have the oi ending. Of course, Russian has lots of consonant clusters, while Japanese in contrast barely has any, only involving doubled consonants or the nasal coda n. But this is only the case phonemically. In most varieties of Japanese, the vowels e and u can be devoiced between voiceless consonants or at the ends of words, which in turn makes some words sound like they have no vowel and that consonant clusters or word final consonants are present. This does have its limits. Voiced consonants don't trigger this devoicing, making it so that only voiceless consonants like sa, tsa, and ka sound like they're pronounced at the ends of syllables. This is actually similar to Russian, where voiced consonants ba, da, ga, va, and zha devoice to pa, ta, ka, fa, sa, and sha at the ends of words and before voiceless consonants. So if we compare the possible coda consonants, we see they're fairly similar, at least at the ends of words. Of course, there are reasons why no one thinks of Russian as sounding like Japanese, especially because of all the vowel reduction in Russian, which causes words that otherwise seem like Japanese ones in romanization to be pronounced quite a bit differently. The intonation is also very different. Russian is a stress-timed language, where stressed syllables are pronounced for significantly longer than unstressed ones, while in Japanese, all moras are pronounced for around the same time. Japanese also doesn't have proper stress, unlike Russian, instead having a system of pitch accents where moras can have either a high or low pitch, with patterns determining the pitch across a given word. Regardless, these languages still have a surprising amount of similarities in their phonologies and syllable structure, ones which you wouldn't expect to see. And this isn't just the case with Japanese and Russian. You could probably find similarities that all sorts of languages have with each other, despite not being related. In this remade version, I must ask you to subscribe in a stereotypical YouTuber fashion, and to thank my Patreon supporters Royst, Dope Kid, Omeyer, Rosetta Stevens, Sunder, Erica Sim, Adam Zhinek, Junior Kwan, Teo Tamera, and Alexis Esqueras. And until next time, do svidanya and matane!